Hey, och, välkommen. Welcome back to the final day of the International Feature Conference. This is the Åke Blomström Award session. Today, as you have already used to by now, I guess, we will have discussion groups right after this session. We will have a plenary about where journalism ends and activism starts. And of course, tonight we will have our final listening theater. It's all their fault. That's the title of the piece we will listen to about the Roma community in Slovakia. But traditionally, this first session of the final day belongs to the Åke Blomström Award. That's an award for exceptional young feature makers at the beginning of their career. He was head of the feature department of Sveriges Radio, hence my Swedish welcome. I hope you realized that it wasn't too bad. If it was bad, I actually apologize. So, Åke Blomström died in 1985, and ever since there is this Åke Blomström Award, an annual award. It's a kind of mentor program, and the mentees present their finished project at the International Feature Conference, hence in this session. We will get to know them all. There are three of them. It's Dries Iru from Belgium, there is Lena Löhr from Germany, and Agnieszka Schweiger from Poland. First, have a look at the projects. We will listen to excerpts, then we'll chat with all of them, and afterwards we will open up the session for Q&A. You can ask any questions you want, and as yesterday worked out so well, we'll try to involve you and get you on screen so you can ask your questions directly to the makers of the features. But we start with the chairman of the Åke Blomström Award. This is Tim Desmond from RTE in Ireland, and if I'm very lucky, he will be connected to me now. Hello, Tim.
Good afternoon, Sven. Good afternoon from Dublin, and congratulations on a really wonderful IFC, all going very smoothly. So it's good to talk to you.
Yeah, that's very nice. Thank you, Tim. I mentioned it's a mixture of classes and the mentorship, the Åke Blomström Award. What does it offer? Can you give us an overview?
Well, in a normal year, it offers a workshop at the IFC and then another workshop at Pre-Europa, and an opportunity for the awardees to meet with their mentors up close and meet with other feature makers from around Europe and really get a feel for the feature making community. And it's where a lot of people pick up a lot of stuff. The last year has been what it's been, so we had to go completely online. And what we've managed to do, Edwin Brees particularly, our coach coordinator, put together a program where we had Zoom meetings just like today, and we only got to know the people virtually, but they still got the benefit of working with the coaches one-on-one and in a sort of a team atmosphere with, you know, the experience of people like Connor and Vida and Simon, our three coaches, and of course Edwin. And they went away with their ideas, worked on them, and then came back for feedback sessions. And, you know, what you're going to hear today is the result of that year's work, which was undertaken with really great enthusiasm. And, you know, it's a well-supported program. It's a voluntary initiative, I think, by the broadcasters and by the people involved. And what surprises me every year is the quality of the results. The features, I think, again, this year are really good. You've heard one of them at the IFC earlier on, a few days ago, Marta Medvesk's piece, Fly or Die. So that just testifies to the quality of the productions that we can help move along and the quality of the feature makers that we can help with their careers.
Mm. Yeah, as you've mentioned, she was a former Åke Blomström awardee, so to speak. Were you surprised that it worked out under Corona that well? I mean, you and me, we already know the pieces, but as you say, they are very high quality pieces. So were you surprised that it's even possible to make these pieces under Corona circumstances?
Well, we had our worries, Sven, early on, because this was completely new to us. And, you know, we talked about, you know, the restrictions and the difficulties that people might have in recording scenes, for instance. But when you hear the pieces, you get immersed in the stories. There doesn't sound like there's much difference between the years before and this last year, which has been a challenge for everybody. And I think they learned a lot. They adapted very well. The pieces they're important pieces, and they're very different. But all of them, you're immersed in the story. You're immersed in the sound, their audio experiences, and for me, that's wonderful.
Just give us a bit of more detailed idea. You said, well, there is, on the one hand side, there are mentors working with him, and then there's this, now you did online classes. Is it like, I don't know, about storytelling, about the use of music, about how to record immersive sound, or what does it entail?
Well, the program covers all of the aspects of feature making, from dramaturgy to the use of sound, the use of music, and, it brings somebody. I mean, 2 of the awardees this year come from a news background, where they're used to doing short packages. They're not used to thinking on the long story arc, working out the long feature. So the experience of the coaches who've been doing this for a long time carries them through the difficult transition from short form to long form. And then we have another person who's worked mostly in the area of kind of more conceptual sound. It's a more esoteric piece. And the discipline of, working the feature from start to finish is part of the learning outcome there. So it's everything you need to learn to make a feature. And luckily for the awardees, they have somebody holding their hand or gently guiding them through the whole process. And I think it's so important, and the result of it is so good. It proves the worthwhile nature of what's being done here,
Yeah. So last one, before we listen to the pieces and meet the exceptional young makers, you wouldn't say it's restricted to feature makers. You would say, if there are people out there thinking about applying for the program, you wouldn't say it's necessary, you have to work in features. It's fine if you have done news by now and want to develop into another direction. It will work on the Åke Blomström Award.
Absolutely. And Sven, what we're looking for is potential. We're looking for people who are the unfinished product. Mm-hmm. We're looking for people who have skills and who have an ambition and a desire to do this, to sometimes transition from other areas in radio and in audio storytelling. And, if we were working with the finished products, it wouldn't be worthwhile. Mm-hmm. We need people who have potential to develop, and then the program helps them to develop. As we've seen again from Marta's piece earlier in the weekend, the results are pretty good.
Tim, thank you for the moment. You stay with us the whole session, especially for the Q&A, and at the end we will talk about the next upcoming year of the Åke Blomström Award, so see you definitely later. So let's start with the first of the 3. We start with Dries Iru from Belgium, and we will first listen to an excerpt of his piece and then we'll have a talk with him. In his feature, he's giving the underrepresented a voice, I think you can say that. Have you ever asked yourself, how do you deal with a loved one who is mentally ill? For example, a partner, a brother, or a mother. And where do you get help? We often talk about people getting these things, but what about the people helping them? And here's an excerpt from Dries Iru's piece called Similes. Here we go.
Er zijn jaren geweest dat er niet kon gecommuniceerd worden. Nu wel. Er zijn jaren geweest dat je daar geen woord mee kon wisselen. Hij heeft in kraakpanden gewoond, in Antwerpen en zo. Hij was weg in kraakpanden. En dan waren wij ook ongerust en mijn dochters waren ongerust. En mijn man was ongerust. Ik heb geleerd van ermee te leven. Gelukkig zijn op die 20 jaar, ook dankzij Similes. En we hebben er ons met velen voor ingezet. Omstandigheden veel verbeterd en de laatste jaren is er veel begrip gekomen. Hè. Ik ging naar een psychiater. Och, laat dat los. Maar dat is het niet. Hè. Je kunt dat niet loslaten. Hè. We hebben bij Similes zo'n uitdrukking. anders vasthouden. Je zijt er. En het is, maar dat is belangrijk, hè, dat je er zijt, dat je het niet opgeeft. Ja, vroeger diagnose, schizofrenie of iets anders. En je zijt dat voor de rest van je leven, punt. Nu wordt dat veel meer bekeken van het is een stuk van je persoonlijkheid, maar er zijn nog zoveel andere aspecten. Vriend zijn, kind zijn, tuinieren of musiceren. Ja, die schizofrenie is een deeltje van die mensen hun persoonlijkheid.
An excerpt from Similes by Dries Heroux. He has been working for and hosted shows at community radio station in Cape Town and works for the Flemish public broadcaster VRT, and he's now with us. Hi, Dries.
Hi, good afternoon. Hi.
Dries, can we start with the excerpt? Can you just explain to us who have we been listening to and what kind of situation were these people?
Well, we actually listened to the last 2 minutes of the program to a mother who has a bipolar son, basically. So he has schizophrenia, and well, there's a long history of him. He's in his 40s now, the son, and he goes back and forth between psychiatric institutions. And well, in this clip, we hear the mother speaking and saying that you know, there were periods that they couldn't communicate really with one another, and that he lived in squat houses, but that she actually tried to live with it. And I think that's maybe one of the key messages in the whole feature, is what she says at the end, that having a mental problem or having a serious mental illness is just a little piece of someone's personality. And yeah, next from being, you know, a friend or a son or a gardener or a wonderful musician, really. And I think that's basically one of the key elements in this feature. Yeah.
It's called Similes. That's the organization who help the relatives of the people who got the illnesses, or why is this a title?
Well, yeah. So what I try to do in the whole feature is basically, because the mother we heard her speak, and she's just one of 3 cases, basically 3 people that have a loved one that has a serious mental issue. So I first started off with a husband who has a wife with chronic depression, and the second one is a sister who has a brother that has chronic depression, and in the last one we have the mother with a son. And so Similes is indeed it's a Flemish non-profit organization who. Yeah, they organize all kind of group sessions for these, you know, family members that have a troubled, let's say, loved one or friend, and they try to, you know, and it makes, for those people, it makes it easier to, you know, understand their family member, to understand, relate, and try to, you know, deal with the person that they love so much, but that is basically unhappy all the time, or that have these serious illnesses. And so what I try to do is I try to interview them all in a concrete setting. So I interviewed the husband between his in his vegetable garden, between his chickens, let's say, because that's the place where he can forget about his problems and so. And with the sister, I went for a walk in a park, and then with the last feature where we just heard an excerpt from, is basically the mother speaking with the son, and actually the son was home at that time. He just came back from an institution, and it took me some effort to go with him into his little shed that is in the garden, and he turned out to be a wonderful musician. And so we hear him speak through his music, because it wasn't really an option to interview him, and anyway, that was not really the focus of my feature. And so I think the location in my feature matter, because you know, the vegetable garden or the chicken shed can be a symbol of, you know, the husband looking for companionship when his wife is in an institution, and it can be a symbol also of, you know, his wife is locked up in a way, as the chickens are locked up in their shed, and you get this feeling for sure when he talks about how he misses her and how he couldn't really visit her in Corona times. And with the sister, speaking about her brother on a walk through the park, you could hear. I mean, it's not in this excerpt, but you could hear some children in the background, and that's a symbol of their relationship between siblings, but also of the fact that his underlying issue of having chronic depression is basically just because he never found love. It's as simple as that, basically, and he wanted to raise a family, and that it plays with the children in the background. And then the last part of the feature we just heard and just fragment from is more of a dialogue between the mother and the son that speaks through his music, I would say.
Dries, was it difficult for you to build these trust to the caregivers? Because they open up quite a lot.
Yeah, well, I was surprised as well, actually. Well, it took me some phone calls, of course, just also to see, what the story really is about and how they tell it. But actually, I was quite surprised because I had the feeling also that they are a bit of a neglected group, as you mentioned, because our image of an informal caretaker is around this idea of taking care of your grandparents, people that having a clear physical disability, which is easy to understand also from the outside world. And I really had the feeling that they wanted to share their story. And so, yeah, in these Corona times, it was not always easy to spend a lot of time with them, and also to think about, okay, how can I play with background sounds? And this is what I try to do with the concrete setting I interviewed them in. And for sure, with the last episode, it wasn't really easy to go with the son in his little music garage in the garden, because I didn't know up front he was going to be there. The mother didn't really tell me, because he runs away and then he comes back. She didn't know herself, basically, and it took me some time to go into the shed with him. But I was really glad I could record him, because I think it's really powerful how you can see it as a dialogue, that last segment.
Yeah, I completely agree. Can you tell us why you were interested in the story, how you came up with the idea?
Yeah, well, for sure in these Corona times, I think it's an interesting topic, and these are not people that just are not really feeling well. I mean, they are, but it's like with real diagnosis, and they spend over more than years in psychiatric institutions, and so I think people are always looking after their physical health. They want to try to eat healthy, they want to lose weight, work out and stuff, but nobody really looks after your soul, or like the ability of your mind. And I think I was just really interested in how it feels, like you said, to have someone you love so deeply but being so unhappy. And I think there's a big part, what you hear in this feature is a lot of guilt with these informal caregivers, and a lot of feeling of wasted opportunities, which I think in life is something very curious, that people always feel like they should have done more, and that's what really attracted me. And I think in the last fragment also, what the mother says is what I think is really, really, really interesting, is that they have a saying within these group sessions from Simles, the organization, and it means holding differently, which means that it's a really unbalanced chord you have to walk on between, you're having guilt and you want to do more, and you love these people, and you can't just leave them alone. That's not possible. But still, you have to be realistic also, and you have to be aware that you won't change everything, and that dramatically changes the relationship you have with your wife or your son. And I think that's just a very human approach. And it just took me. It was just interesting. I just wanted to know how these people feel. Basically, I think that was the most basic question. Yeah.
As Tim mentioned, you as well as a mentor. I think in your case, if I remember correctly, it was Conor Garrett, North Island BBC. And some people may know Conor is very much about structural approach. I think that was the lesson he was giving in the Åke Blomström Award program anyway. So in which way was he making a difference for you? What was the most, I don't know, lesson learned he could help you on your way with? If there was, of course.
Well, there was. So he helped me, and I mean this when I say it. I couldn't have wished for a better coach, I would say, because he helped me a lot. I had quite a clear idea of what I wanted to do, I think, in the end, and he helped me a lot on, let's say, a philosophical way. Maybe, I mean, we had long chats about dramaturgy, but also about life in general, let's say, and about feature making. Well, he helped me a lot in connecting these stories, because like Tim said, I'm coming from a news background, and I didn't really have experience with making something that is quite far off from the news, maybe, and that is quite long also, and that has to have like a long build-up tension or something. And what Connor really helped me in connecting the three separate stories, because that's what it is. It's three basically separate stories that have nothing to do with one another, except for the fact that it's about a troubled loved one. And he and I think I can say it. It wasn't really, when I initially signed up for this project, it was a different world than it is now. On a macro Corona level, but also on a personal level, it was quite busy. And he helped me, to fall in love with the project and with my own feature anymore, because you always have these insecurities about where's the story going. And he helped me to always go back to the most fundamental questions, basically, that is, what do you want to tell? What is this story about? What is the angle? What do you think it is about? He helped me a lot. Yeah.
So that's a great thank you to Conor Garrett. Leslie told me he has been on the chat yesterday as well, so hopefully he's looking this or watching this at the moment as well. And Dries Iru, Similes is the title of your piece. It's 20 minutes length, and it was the first in the Åke Blomström Award session this year. Dries, thank you so much for being with us, and stay with us. So probably there will pop up some questions later. So we'll move on. Sorry, we will move on now. There was this cafe session yesterday. Did I tell you about that? It was like with a sparkling water thing, so it's really hard to pronounce things properly today. You know what I mean. So Dries Iru, thank you so much. And we're moving on to Germany. Perhaps everybody of us likes some distinctive sounds. For me, for example, it's cranes, a common crane that is, neither snow crane or Siberian crane, if in case you're into these kind of things. At first you feel this sound in your stomach, and then you look up in the sky, and then you realize, they're flying over you in this, this V shape when the cranes are flying. Actually, I'm living in a place where they cross by very closely two times, of course, in the year. Sometimes it's like this extraordinary sound where you get this feeling of, I want to go somewhere else and I want to have something. So we love sound as feature makers, obviously, but even for us, probably there are some sounds we do not realize anymore. Sound of extraordinary places, perhaps, because they're covered, or day-to-day sounds. And that is what Lena Löhr's feature is about. It's called The Ears of Peter Cusack, and this is the excerpt.
You found something to play here?
Yeah, we found there was actually some built-in unexpected musical possibilities here. One is, there's quite a lot of metal in the design, so the bike stands, for example, if you hit them, they ring rather nicely.
Im Hinterhof neu gebauter Eigentumswohnungen hat Peter versteckte Musikinstrumente gefunden. Fahrradbügel aus Stahl.
Ja, das ist wahrscheinlich auch das Herangehen des Musikers an die Geräusche und an die Dinge, die man findet. Ne? So, da bin ich nicht so verspielt in dieser Hinsicht. Das mache ich auch, aber ich sehe nicht so oft das Instrument was mich, keine Ahnung, im Zaun oder in dem Laternenposten oder im Fahrradständer. Ne? So.
Peters Lieblingsexemplar? Ein Fahrradbügel mit 2 verschiedenen Tönen.
That's my favourite one, but it has 2 pitches.
Wegen eines Fehlers in der Konstruktion wurde der Fahrradbügel in der Mitte zusammengeschweißt und klingt jetzt auf jeder Seite der Schweißnaht anders.
And on either side of the join, it sounds different.
Peters Resümee:
The world is actually full of little details like that, which mostly we don't pay any attention to. But that's kind of my interest.
Die Welt ist voll von solchen Kleinigkeiten, denen wir meistens keine Aufmerksamkeit schenken.
That is The Ears of Peter Cusack by Lena Löhr. Lena is a radio maker and sound artist. She has produced sound installations as well as sound walks. And if I'm lucky, she'll be on screen with me now. There she is. Hello, Lena.
Hello.
Lena, let's start with
Hello.
the excerpt we've been listening to. Can you give us an impression? Who is actually there? In what situation? What did we listen to?
We listened to part of a sound walk, a listening walk I did together with Peter Cusack in a Berlin neighborhood. And we could also hear Peter's friend Udo Noll, who's also a field recordist. And yeah, their share, their passion, and their share listening to sounds a lot of time of their lives, I would say.
What kind of guy is Peter Cusack? Can you give us an impression of his personality?
Yeah, actually, I hope that the feature would also transmit that he's quite a calm guy. He wouldn't talk if you don't ask him to comment something. He just stays silent. But when you get to know him, he opens up, and as we share the passion for sounds, we also have a lot to talk. Yeah, and he's about in his early 70s, but he's still very active and moving and traveling. Yeah.
Was there a special detail or situation you were amazed by the most with him, that you were thinking, well, look, I've never listened to that sound before because it was probably covered, or I didn't pay attention, or did some kind of that happen to you?
I've been knowing Peter for about 10 years, so this was not the first sound walk we did together. But I definitely discovered through him the sounds that are hidden in objects like these bike stands or metal tubes. If you press your ear onto them or if you hit them, you discover these sounds which normally don't occur or you don't notice.
When you say you know each other for 10 years, how did you find together or get to know each other?
I organized a lecture series about sound and anthropology because I'm originally an anthropologist, and through a colleague, he told me that Peter would be an interesting person for this lecture series, so I invited him, and then we got to know each other, and since then we meet maybe once a year and exchange ideas about weird or interesting sounds.
For example, can you give us an impression? Is it day-to-day sounds or special sounds, or I don't know, you make a pub quiz out of sounds, you have to find out what kind of sounds you play to each other? Sorry, perhaps that's the wrong idea I got in my mind.
No, I think we haven't done a quiz, but Peter is traveling quite far. He's really interested in environmental issues. So, for example, he sends me sounds of frozen grass near the Baikal Lake, which clings together like little bells, or some wind going through an abandoned rusting ship there, or sounds from abandoned Chernobyl villages. Yeah.
Mm. Can you describe why sound is so important for you on a personal level? What's so fascinating about it?
I think for me, maybe as for many other feature makers, it's kind of an intimate encounter, and it's a part of my perception, which is really personal, which gives me a lot of memories, but also it's this playfulness. Yet you can play with sound, and it's not always so obvious when you encounter a place which sounds I might be hidden there, how a person's voice sound or how objects sound. So yeah, I think, and there's always new things to discover. It doesn't really have an end, I think.
Do you have a personal favorite sound at the moment? As I mentioned, for me, sometimes it's the cranes because they are traveling and it's this very distinctive cry they have when they fly over. Do you have something for yourself like that? So probably it's changing. I don't know.
I think there's always favorite sounds in a place, and I live near an old goods station. So there's no more station for passengers, but there's this really old and rusty trains which just travel with goods, and this train comes often at night or takes off at night, and when the train stands still and I happen to pass there late at night under a bridge, and then suddenly the wheels slowly start turning of this big goods train, I really enjoy this sound because it kind of gives me a feeling of old times, but it's also current life that's with this sound.
As well as the others, you had a mentor. If I'm correct, in your case, it was the former BBC Simon Elms. In which way did he help you? I mean, if I remember correctly, Simon is very much about scenic storytelling. So in which way could he help you for your feature?
I found it not so easy in the Corona times to meet Peter because he's also of age. So I was struggling a bit really getting scenes. Luckily I had like older recordings where we were walking together around. So Simon helped me a lot in like staying with the material and getting another interview and going on when I was kind of I didn't know so much if I could really work something out with the material I had, and also getting the material together. And in the beginning I had difficulties getting a connection to Peter for the listener because I already have a connection to him, but of course I want to bring a listener in, and so Simon actually made the proposition that I should also appear in the piece and tell my connection to Peter, and I was a bit hesitant with that because in my other feature, which was more or less producing simultaneously, I was also so present, so actually I had the idea not to be so present in this piece about Peter and really have space for him. But in the end, I'm happy that Simon kind of pushed on that and said it's good to have you there and you should speak about your relation to Peter in the piece.
Lena, actually, you are also with another piece at the International Feature Conference. If I'm correct, it's Nicaragua Libre, and I think it's in discussion group C today. So we will see you in an hour in discussion group C as well. What do you expect of the discussion group in a bit?
I'm really curious how it is perceived. It was broadcasted in February, so I already got some feedback, and on some points it was quite diverse. So I'm really curious what an international audience who doesn't speak neither Spanish nor German thinks of the piece and how it is done. And it really is kind of the opposite in sense of loudness and pace to my Peter Cusack piece. Yeah, so I'm curious.
Yeah. So thank you very much for participating with two pieces this year. In the Åke Blomström Award, this is The Ears of Peter Cusack by Lena Löhr from Germany. And stay with us. Probably there will be some questions later in this session. Thank you for the moment, Lena.
Thank you.
And we move on to the third piece. The next one, how should I put it? I mentioned this one in the opening ceremony because I think it's very private, it's very intimate. It's a good example of what audio can do, and at the same time it's very political. There are perhaps only very few questions, I guess, more private than this one in life. Do you want to have children? Suppose for women this is even more private than for us men, I guess. And then suddenly there are people, perhaps not suddenly, but there are people giving you some advice like, yeah, you will see, you want them once you get older, so do it now. Or you will love them once they are there, definitely, so do it. So pressure can happen on this topic on a personal level, but also on a society or institutional level. When the law, for example, says abortion is illegal as well as sterilization, it takes away opportunity, you could say. And what if I don't want to? That's the title of the third piece by Agnieszka Schweiger from Poland. And when you don't want to, you only can demonstrate. Here's the excerpt.
Budujecie piekło kobiet! Gdzie jest twoja żona? Gdzie są twoje dzieci?
Nie wiem, dokąd jadę, nie wiem, co będzie. Widzę, że taksówkarz na mnie patrzy w lusterku i ja wiem, że on wie, gdzie ja jadę. Niewiele pamiętam z tej podróży, bo ten strach o to wszystko, ja byłam po prostu obezwładniona i byłam 19-letnim jeszcze dzieckiem. I jeżeli tego oni nie zrobią, to co ja zrobię? I to jest ciąża, której nie chcę. Ja jej nie chcę, ja jestem w ogóle na nią niegotowa psychicznie, finansowo. Tej ciąży nie może być. Jedziemy do kliniki w Szwed. Taksówkarz wchodzi z nami do kliniki. Uspokajam się, bo już wiem, że on będzie trzymał język za zębami. Nie bałam się zabiegu. Bałam się, czy ktoś mi powie, taka młoda, a taka głupia. Idę do łazienki, gdzie po prostu zaczynam płakać z nerwów. To jest wszystko po prostu za dużo. To jest wszystko po prostu za dużo. Podają mi znieczulenie ogólne i odpływam. Pamiętam to, że nie stać nas było na to, żeby zapłacić za taksówkę z powrotem, więc ten taksówkarz wrócił do domu, a my z powrotem dostawaliśmy się do domu autobusem podmiejskim takim do granicy, a potem szliśmy chyba z 11 kilometrów na pieszo. Wiadomo, jak krwawiłam, bolał mnie brzuch, byłam osłabiona, przestraszona, bo ja powinnam już być w domu. Moja mama się zorientowała. Zorientowała się, że nie ma paszportu. Po paru dniach moja mama doszła do konfrontacji i moja mama mnie pobiła.
And What If I Don't Want To by Agnieszka Schweiger from Poland. Agnieszka is passionate about storytelling through sound. She's a musician, as well as a feature maker, works for Radio 3457 and founded her own podcast studio and is now with us. Agnieszka, hello.
Hello everyone.
Nice
Agnieszka, to see you all.
Let's start with the excerpt as we did with the others. Can you give us an impression who was talking, what kind of situation we were in?
Sure. So we were listening to Joanna. She's 40 years old. She's a girl who had to go abroad to the clinic to do abortion. It was about 20 years ago. She was very young, very scared, as you could hear. And she wasn't sure about this decision. She wasn't sure if the doctors, will help her. Later she had to come back home on foot. It was, I remember, 11 kilometers. And she was beaten by her mother. So we are just with her during this journey. And of course, there are only memories, but I can hear that this situation is still after these years, it is really still very important for her.
Yeah, it's very moving. You could hear it still, memories in her head. Was it difficult for you to find people talking about that topic and building up trust to them so they open up for you?
Yes, it was quite hard because as I imagine in Western European countries, maybe this is not a big deal that a woman doesn't want to have children. But well, when I did research and I was trying to find these women, I asked my friends. For example, I told my personal trainer that I'm looking for women who don't want to have children, and he replied, "Oh, do such women even exist?" So, well, it's I wanted these women to be heard, because in Poland it's still a kind of taboo, and the society expect from women to be mothers. So it wasn't easy to find these women, but finally I managed, because I wanted to show that they are good people, and it's not necessary to have children if you don't feel that you want to have them.
Did you come up with the idea for the piece because, I don't know, in the recent years, policy in Poland even became more restrained concerning that topic, or was it something you really wanted to tell about for a couple of years? How did you come up with that?
Well, to be honest, it was an accident, because it was a while before the protests against the decision of Constitutional Tribunal about forbidding legal abortion in Poland. So it was before these marches. And at that time, I was working for Polish radio. I was traveling along Polish and German border. I was working on completely different project when in one of the hospitals on the German side, I met a doctor who performs an abortion. I asked him if he had any doubts about his work. He never had second thoughts about an abortion itself, but there was a thing he had problem with. He told me about young Polish women, teenagers and women in early 20s, who come in a large number to this German hospital and do sterilization. And it was quite new for me, because, well, it's okay that you don't want to have children, but if you decide to do sterilization, this decision is for perhaps the rest of your life. So I wanted to also to meet with women who think about the sterilization, and it was really hard to find them, because the doctor didn't agree to share his contacts. Well, the case is really gentle, but he made me think about being a mother in general. So my main question after this protest, because then the protests were happening, and my main question to answer was, how does it feel to choose not to be a mother in a society that doesn't let you choose? So this was the general idea.
Did the women you were talking to, did they already listen to the piece? And if yes, how did they react to the piece, I mean?
Yes, they listened to the piece, and they were quite grateful. Maybe they said thank you that you do it, because it's important for us. And you know, Sven, that after this feature was broadcasted, there were many comments, and I remember one because it was quite strong for me. One woman who is 55 years old, she thanked me for the feature, and she said that for her it is too late, because she had husband, then she got divorced, she has 3 children, she loves them very much, but she never wanted to be a mother, and she was expected, so she did it. But she wasn't aware of the other way of living, and she doesn't want to. I mean, she didn't know that it's fine if you don't want to have a child. It is fine, no questions, no arguing. So perhaps if she had known that before, she wouldn't have decided to become a mother. So it was quite a strong message for me that we have to speak about this, and it shouldn't be a kind of taboo.
As the others, you had help by a mentor. In your case, it was Vaida Pilibaiterte from Lithuania. In which way could she help you move forward?
The way we cooperated was really important and great, because it's really good to talk with. Sorry for the cat, because my cat just came here. She's very interested.
Oh, it's fine.
So, sorry. So Vaida helped me a lot, because she asked me really important questions. What is it about? Because you have so many characters, so many things that we cannot show everything. So what is the most important for the story? What should be this storyline? And also she suggested me to go to the Babcia's marsh. Babcia is we call grandma is Babcia in Poland, and it's. It was good, because we could then show people in like, you know, a woman who has 16, then who is 70, and it was good for the story, and it was her idea. So, and also for me it was important, because when I talk, I can maybe think better. So she was the person who I can talk to, and she was always for me, even it was late. Sometimes I just had maybe one question, but it was important, and I needed to talk with her, and she was always for me. So thank you.
So this is And What If I Don't Want To by Agnieszka Schweiger from Poland. We open up for a couple of minutes the Q&A session for the three of you, and of course for Tim Desmond, who is with us all the time. First of all, Elizabeth is posting bravo to all Åke Blomströmers. Yeah, I quite strongly agree with that. 3 brilliant pieces. And probably we try to get both on the screen now, because there is a question for Lena Löhr. So probably try to get her on screen first. I can already hear something. There she is. And Agnieszka has a question for her, so we try to get Agnieszka on the screen as well, so she can ask her question herself. Otherwise, Lena and I will have a good time in the meantime, get something to drink, talk about the concept of sound.
My microphone is on and my camera is on as well.
Okay, Agnieszka,
do you hear me?
I can hear you, so I suppose that all the others can hear you as well. Ah, there you are. Yeah, so please, yeah, there the two of them. Bravo.
Yeah.
So please, here you go.
It's just a question about the development of idea on the use of sound level. I would like to know if you go more in a audio art, or you stay on a reality level and we follow the life of Peter. This is my question.
Yeah, thank you. I think I would say it's a mixture, because I didn't do like a classical portrait of his life, but I went more for along our sound walks we had together. So it's along the sound walks that you get to know him and our shared experiences. And then Udo, his friend, comes in, with whom I also did a sound walk. And you can hear their similarities in thinking about sound. So it's more about listening, like intense and concentrated listening, discovering sounds, and via Peter's fascination for sounds and being on the sound walk with him, getting to know him rather than facts about his biography. Yeah.
So it is a sound portrait, we can say.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Here's another question. Johannes is actually asking. That goes to Dries. Probably can put him on. Johannes is saying in brackets here that I shouldn't have mentioned him. Johannes, I read it like I start at the top and I follow it. So if you really don't want me to mention your name, you have to write it in the front, so then I know. So this question is for Dries. I just wanted to make sure everybody takes some time to pop up. Dries pops up at the screen. Dries, the question actually is, I think an interesting one. You think you will stay with radio documentary as well when you come more from a news background, or is this, I don't know, a one-off for you, so to say?
I don't know. I think maybe, and I'm speaking now for VRT, so the national Flanders public broadcaster. I think because we had some programs in the past that were more leaning and that were on Radio 1, which is, I mean, our radio #1 news outlet. In the past, that were more, towards radio documentary, really. And but it's very time consuming, and a trend that I would like to see is that there can be more time for really radio documentaries. It's now one program, but it's around 10 p.m. at night. But in my personal opinion, I don't know. I think maybe there can be. I'm certainly, well, I like the news, so I'm staying with the news. But maybe, I mean, we can think about like a combination of because one concept is not like mutually exclusive with the other. So yeah, but it's an interesting question. I didn't really think about it before, but I like the news. But maybe I can change my shift in how I approach like news features with a more documentary style. Really, I don't know. It's food for thought, at least.
And as you say, it's not a neither nor. Yeah. So Agnieszka is asking another question, I think, and when I got it right, is for Agnieszka as well. So it's Agnieszka for Agnieszka. I'll try to get them both on screen. There's the first one. Will not be spotlighted, no.
Yeah. Okay. Can you?
And there comes the second one. Yeah, of course. There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
Cześć. Hello.
Cześć. Hi. Hello. It's just a question, maybe a little bit technical. It's about the structure. What do you have in your feature? Is it only the interviews? And where do we go in the sense of sound? Do you have any music, any scenes in your feature to give us an idea? How do you work?
Mm-hmm. And the question is hard. As you probably imagine, it was really hard to record people, as you all know, during this crazy year. So I couldn't go to, I couldn't visit these women at home because many people were afraid. But I managed to record some scenes. It was there were mainly scenes from the marshes, but also I spent time with one of my characters, and we just she put some kind of stickers in many places, and I think this sticker was about that if you need help, you can always call to us, because it was about abortion helpline. And also I visited the doctor in the clinic, so we could hear the sound from the clinic. Maybe it's just kind of background, but it's good to have it in this document. And also I spent some time with the girls from abortion helpline, and they told me that sometimes they have 60 telephones per day, and that women call them because they don't know what to do. And so you can hear some telephones. And about the music, I wanted to choose. I was thinking if I need music for this feature. But finally, I decided to have it because I needed to have this space, to have a break, and of course, because of coronavirus, it was really hard to record the scene or to be with one of these women. So that's a pity, but I tried to make it as good as I could.
Okay. Thanks for the question.
Thank you very much.
Agnieszka and Agnieszka Schweigel, just stay with us for another second, because somebody's asking about the station you are working for. I think it's Radio 357, if I remember correctly. Is this an FM station, or are you doing podcasts, probably giving you the opportunity of doing other kinds of stories there?
Yeah, so it's Radio 357, and yes, it's a radio in which you can hear in the internet. And of course, we have podcasts, but also you can hear it all the time, every day. And for the feature, it is okay because you can always return to the feature because you have it in podcasts. And to be honest, it's a big problem in Poland because now we want to make feature more popular. And we are trying to interest people and make them listen to the radio features. So for us, the internet is quite okay to share with our productions. So it is also good because if at the air the feature can be, for example, has 15 minutes. For the podcast, we can also make it longer. Mm-hmm. So we can make a feature that has 15 minutes, but this is without the end. We just end inside the story, and we say, okay, if you want to hear more, you can hear more on the podcasts. So it's also some kind of advertisement, it works as I can observe because we are a quite young radio. We are 4 or 5 months. So we are just testing and we are listening to the listeners if they are happy with this solution.
Okay, thank you so much for that elaboration. For the end of the session, I would just like to circle back to Tim as chairman of the Åke Blomström Award. Just a quick word about these were the 3 ones this year presenting their finished stories at the International Feature Conference. What about the next upcoming year? Have you already selected 3 new mentorees and what are they doing?
We have, and can I just say, if this is the future of audio storytelling and feature making in Europe, I think we're in good hands. And also, Sven, just to mention the coaches again, and Edwin Brees, the coordinator, does tremendous work, really good work in keeping the whole thing together, particularly in the year that's gone by. We have 3 new awardees, and they're Brian Byrne from Ireland, Laura Palan from Finland, and Martina Solskute from Lithuania. So they're not unsimilar to the awardees we had from last year, who we've just heard, in that they have experience, they have a passion for audio and radio, and they've got good ideas. And our job is to help them with the help of the public broadcasters who contribute to the Åke Blomström Fund, to give them the experience and the help that they need to, develop their feature making ability. That's the plan. And I know some of them are on the session here today, and I'm sure some of them are shaking, wondering, can I do as good as that? Trust me, you'll be in good hands.
Tim, thank you so much, and thanks goes out as well as Tim mentioned to Edwin as coordinator, obviously, and to Connor, Simon, and Vida working as mentors for the Åke Blomström Award nominees or winners. That's Agnieszka, Lena, and Dries. And I hope I say it correctly when I promise you can hear all the pieces in length at our homepage. I hope I'm correct with that. I see Leslie nodding in the shadows down there, so I'm correct with that. So make sure you listen to all of them. It's 3 amazing, completely different, great radio features. That was the Åke Blomström Award for 2021 on the International Feature Conference. As you well know, our procedure is moving on to discussion groups. It's interesting for Lena because she will be in discussion group C with her piece now as well. You know the procedure, it's all this motto. We have Power of Narrative is one motto and follow the link is the other important motto of this IFC. So follow the link we are putting now in the chat, and don't leave this session. So just follow the link, and there will be a possibility for you of circling back at 5 o'clock in this session when we have the plenary. That will be Jean Peters. And he's asking the question, is there a connection between investigative journalism on the one side and activism on the other side? That's 5 p.m. back at this place. So enjoy your discussion groups and see you later.